Let's get started.
All right, welcome to TC18, everybody.
Welcome.
So,
Dave, have you ever hit those moments that you wish you could have known it earlier?
surely, I certainly have, and we're here to show you what we didn't know we needed to know.
Before we started using Tableau.
Let's get started.
All right.
You know, we're going to show you the whole life cycle of a dashboard creation. We're going to start from the requests coming in all the way to the operations, all in 30 minutes.
Only 30 minutes?
Yes, and it's a jam-packed 30 minutes, so...
Let's stop wasting time and get started.
So, who are we? We're on your side.
From Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side.
We have a total of over 9 years of Tableau experience, and we've run into many detours that we wish someone could have shown us before we took them to save us time.
So let our pain become your gain.
As we go down memory lane.
That's why we have this session today. And let's start with some basics. How a dashboard is made. There are some commonly used workflow, waterfall, and agile.
Raise your hand if you've used a waterfall workflow. All right, now raise them if you've used agile. All right, put them all down. As you can see, everybody uses a little bit of both.
Yep, so as you can see on the screen, no matter you use waterfall or agile, there's always some similar components in it. You always start with some requirements, and then go to design and development, testing it, and finally operationalize it.
You know, we're going to cover everything. We're going to show you the journey along the way. We're going to get in there, and we're going to show you some nice tips and tricks to elevate what you know and what you can do. We're going to cover some small things, some intermediate things, and some very advanced things, so just stick with us if you get lost along the way. And
all right, so let the story begin.
You know, once upon a time, someone came to us with a request, and it happened to be an executive.
Attention, attention. How are we doing with profit?
You know, as you may have already guessed or known, you now have 3 points of view on what that leader meant, such as...
Where are all the profits coming from? Are we doing okay?
Or...
Does he want me to predict sales for next quarter?
Or...
I really don't know. Who should I assign this to?
You know, each person has their own point of view, and they have what they're looking for. They're going to add their own ideas, their own biases, and such as...
Okay. Profit data. Does boss want me to create a bar chart?
Or...
Okay, trend. Should I do predictive analysis?
But you'll always have...
Who should I delegate this to, and I take all the credit?
You know, there are no bad ideas. However, there are a lot of inquisitive idiots out there. What we're going to do is we're going to help you in streamlining this story and getting to the point of what people are actually looking for. So, about the time that you actually get involved, something that started out as
house profit
has been morphed by playing the telephone game, and it might sound more like meow and be more like herding cats. So, hello, meow.
Where are we losing money?
Meow.
How about sales in Louisiana?
Meow.
I don't care how to show it. Just do something and make me look good.
Meow. So, how are we going to make this right?
So, you know, Dave, with my background with Lean Six Sigma, I think we may be able to adopt some Lean methodology, such as just go back to the source, get voice of customer session. How about that?
That sounds great. How about we ask a list of questions? We found out the 5 whys. We determine what people are looking for. We keep asking them that why to determine and get to the source of the information. If they have huddle boards, we start Gemba walking those to figure out what they really are looking for.
You all know all the Lean methodologies, huh?
It's thanks to you.
All right, all noted.
So let's recap this requirement stage. E, why was all this important?
Oh, I learned this the hard way.
Why don't you tell us all about it?
Well, do you remember the time that I was thrown a Word document and full of requirements?
Yes, it said everything they wanted, and you got started right away.
Yeah, I know, and that's a mistake. You know, the person who actually handed me that Word document is just the middleman.
Oh, so did you have to start completely over?
Yeah, I remember the day I presented the demo to the audience, And turns out they are the actual end users and they have complete different focus.
I see. It sounds like that's my life too, and probably a lot of people's lives in here. But then I learned that information is a source of learning.
Well, that is so true. So glad at least this time we get back to the source and we finally have the requirements for this profit dashboard. We need to show how we are doing with profit and how can we increase.
Yeah, but so now that we understand,
or at least we think we do,
let's let the design begin and start designing. So first and foremost,
GetDATA. Dave, where's the data?
I had to cheat. It takes way too long to discover, uncover, communicate, understand, retrieve, transform, and interpret, and then operationalize that data. And if that sounded like a lot, it really is. So we use the Superstore data.
Thank you, Tableau. And that makes sense. So let me try this one more time. And first,
let's pick a chart. Let's start playing with that data to figure out the best way to show it.
Okay, challenge accepted. And let me start with this pie. Dave, what do you think? What does everybody think? Does it show what we're looking for? By region.
I can see what's going on in the east and the west, that they're a little bit bigger, but central and south, I can't really tell the difference without looking at those numbers going around the board.
How should we do this instead then?
What if instead we showed it as a bar?
Let me take a look. So west sells the most and central sells the least. I can easily just compare the length of the bar. That's great. But I still want to use pie chart. Like, under what circumstance should I use a pie chart then?
You should do it when you're comparing very few categories, and it would look something a little bit like this.
Let me see. So we definitely have more orders that generate profit, huh? So I guess pie chart works better when you're comparing only two categories.
Yeah, and especially when the data is drastically different from each other, it works really well. So what other ways could we have looked at the data?
So far we have pie, circles, we have bars. What about some rectangles?
Rectangles. What do you all think? Does that sound like a tree map to you?
Well, let me take a look. I feel like tree map is just an enhanced pie chart, and I still can't tell the difference between those regions.
All right, but what if I added some context for you?
I think now it seems better, but now it becomes a bit cluttered. Can you show something else?
This is a tree map. What I think would work better would be a real map. What do you think?
Wow, I think that's much better. I can see all the details.
I want to have some fun with this. What if we use some bubbles?
Bubbles? Oh, bubbles. Well, I think we just stick with the map, keep it simple, and works better. Since you taught me how to use those maps, let me try it on my own and let me create my own map. Hey, here's the map I made. Dave, what do you think? Can we put this one instead?
Oh, wow, color overload.
But each state has their own color. What's wrong with it?
You can tell the states by the borders in between them. You really don't have to do all those colors.
I see. You're right. Then what should I put in colors instead?
What if instead of just throwing a color out there, we added something like a profit ratio so that we could choose our colors wisely and show them?
So you distinguish those states by whether they are making profit versus they're not, and I can also see what states are surrounded. That's some good insights to see then.
Yeah, and that's why we should always use color wisely.
You do show me a good example. So far we categorize the profit. What about some trends, like profit over time? What chart to use?
When you're talking about trends and over time, you should probably use something like a line.
Let me see. So in the first quarter, the profit fluctuated a lot, but kind of smoother after. It's good.
All right, but what if I added some quantity information?
Let me see. So the trend of quantity and the trend of profit may not always go together. Good.
But what if we use this as an area chart? Do you think that would do anything?
Let me read this. now you make me feel like quantity is a subset of profit, but I don't think that's true.
Yeah, this really doesn't represent our data the way we're looking for. However, these all work great for over a period of time information.
This looks cool.
So let's just stick with the lines.
You know, and with my stats background, I do want to see some distributions in the data set. What can you make?
Let me think. Stats. We probably want to use a scatter plot and just show that information.
Okay. So in this scatter plot, each dot is a customer, red is losing money, and gray is making money. Am I right?
Yeah, you don't even need a legend to figure that out. You can just look at it.
Wow. That's pretty cool. What else?
You know, I have another idea. What if I added a little bit of context and I added some shapes to that scatter plot? Now what do you think?
Holy circles and pluses. Huh. Now I see almost all the outliers are coming from the crosses.
Yeah, those are the technology items, and you can see that there's a huge variance within the same product category.
I see. If it's not for you applying those shapes, I won't see this information inside my data. Good job.
You know, I've been going over some visuals with everybody here, and I feel like I've been doing all the work. I don't know what the rest of you think, but let's make her do something.
All right. So I'll just sum the stats in your visuals and give you this box plot. How does this look?
Did you just add a reference line to an existing chart to create that?
Yeah. So box plot is just a reference line over scatter plot. Isn't it sweet?
I like it. But I think it's time to do some planning work. We need to generate some more sales and profit, remember?
Sounds like you need a Gantt. What about this?
You know, I really like it because you added a reference line once again for today's date. And that shows me that Central's almost done.
Isn't it sweet? All these reference lines in Tableau.
Definitely, and I think we've come up with enough charts and ideas to start putting these all together to make a story for our dashboard. All right, go ahead.
Okay, let me give it a shot. And would you like to see my first draft?
Sure.
All right. Here we go. How does it look, everyone? My first draft of my dashboard.
Wow. I'm going to say what I'm sure everybody here is thinking. That's something. I mean, it's just a whole page of filters, really.
But, you know, people from all different departments and regions, they contact me and they say, oh, I need to be able to filter my own items. It's part of the requirements. I have no choice.
It looks more like a shopping catalog than it does a dashboard.
Fine. Then you make it better, but I do like shopping catalogs.
Of course you do. But how about I take out all the filters and I put some meaningful visuals in and give them actions to allow you to interact with them visually. Take a look at this.
All right. So if I just click California like that, the whole page is going to show California information only?
Yeah, you just need to naturally select and then it'll filter to the information that you want to show. You just need to naturally read to get to more details.
I see. That does look like a much better flow. I just naturally read. I don't have to make a whole selections ahead of time to go into my details.
You're welcome. It's just some simple dashboard actions and you can make it work.
All right.
By the way, I want to raise.
Make an action then.
I can only do that in the worksheets and in the dashboards.
Okay.
Now that we've made a good start on a dashboard, let me publish it.
Okay, go ahead.
What are you doing?
This is from one of the customers. They just sent me an email. Let me just go through this pretty quick. I still need a paycheck.
Fine, let's find out what's going on. People must be really looking for what we're making.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe what just happened.
Tell us about it.
Well, somebody just emailed me and say they look at our dashboard, they extract the data out of it, and they make their own.
You've got to be kidding me. So,
yeah, and then they asked me why they click refresh on their own dashboard, and the data's not refreshed.
wait, so something like this happened? They took the data that we got out of Excel from the Superstore, and we published a dashboard. Then they took what we made in that dashboard, pulled it into their own Excel file, and published a dashboard off of that Excel file?
Yeah, Excel to Tableau, back to Excel, back to Tableau. And you know, when you draw that flow out, it kind of looks stupid. So how should I stop them?
You know, we need to introduce them to an optimized workflow where we're taking Excel, putting into an extract of some type. Why don't we publish that on the server? And then not only can we, but everybody can build their dashboard off the exact same information.
So all these dashboards that we build or they build, it's going to have the same latest, greatest data as long as we refresh a single extract?
Yes, you're right, and you won't have to do that again. You got it.
You saved the day, Dave.
You know, dinner's on you now.
Sure, no problem, but only if you can help me understand, like why people download the data in the first place.
You know, when the users are asking for a download of our data, something's probably wrong. Let's go gather requirements, let's go do voice of the customer sessions, and let's get them out of the data game and into some understanding.
Ah, sure, I guess I'll call them after this. And I think we now sketched a lot of charts and we find out the best way to represent our data. We even have a design for the dashboard. Let's start to get technical.
You know, we've learned some development tips and tricks right now in the session as we've been talking through, and those are things that her and I have learned the hard way.
From your pain, I gain.
And we're not just going to share the intermediate information, but that's the track for today. We're going to go through everything. We're going to go from beginner, intermediate, advanced, and even some Jedi.
All right. But we only have 30 minutes today, Dave. We have to move fast. All these details will be shared after this session, isn't it?
Yeah, and so don't worry about taking notes, and let's move on to the beginner tips.
Okay, and let me get started. So I need to connect to data first, and it's our Nest share. It's an Excel file, so I click connect, and hey, what's the path?
Why are you doing what you're doing?
I need to connect to data. What's wrong with it?
But you do realize you can just open a Tableau workbook by itself and then drop any data file into that, specifically the Tableau one we're working with now?
Wow, thanks. Oh, I know we're tight on time, so good tip, and let me continue. So set up the format, create a new worksheet. Dave, can you memorize this for me? I need area, font size 10, bold, so I can set up the same on the...
Whoa, what are you doing this time?
Just set up format on 2 tabs.
You do realize that you can just right-click on any existing worksheet that you've already done that on, copy the formatting, and then go into another one, right-click, and paste that same formatting. It's going to save you time and effort.
Oh, wow. So it just saved me another 5 minutes so we can stay on time. And next, let me write some calculations and start with one, then I reference it. What's a long sentence I just typed, Dave?
You do realize at some point we're going to probably have to operationalize this. Do you hate the rest of us?
Why do you say that? What should I do then?
You know, you should keep it simple as possible. We shouldn't hard code or nest our calculations because it's going to keep it simple and keep it easy for us to understand what's going on.
And how does it help?
Well, now when we go back later on, we're not going to have to go down a rabbit hole looking for what we did before or trying to follow somebody else's path to get to what was being said.
That makes sense. I don't think I'm able to remember what that's typed after this session. I'll change that then. And I also use the case statement in it. I think if can do the same thing, right? Where should I use what?
You know, the case is what I would always use. It's better for recognizing patterns. It returns a true or false, and it just calculates much faster. The if is going to have to go through a lot of mathematics to do the same thing.
All right. So use case whenever I can in Tableau. Noted. And with some calculations next. Hey, remember the map I created before and some visual filters on it, right?
Yeah, I really liked what you did.
Yeah, but you know what? The map already takes a lot of space on the dashboard. I have some extra information to see, but there's no really space. And what if I can only see the extra information when I drill down and hide it when I don't?
You know, surely you can. Do you remember when we were talking about actions? Look what happens when we select California. We're going to see the top 5 profitable regions in that state.
I see. And that's just part of the filter actions?
Yeah, you just get a container, follow some simple actions, and there you go, dashboard magic.
That is truly magic.
So, you know, remember what you did with that Gantt chart a little bit ago?
Yes, I made a Gantt.
Well, you know, I want to convert it to a lollipop chart, so let me see what I can do here.
Lollipop, huh?
Yeah, so first I'm going to start out, and I'm going to start with some bars and some dots, and then I'm going to make a dual axis. Then I'm going to sync them, and look, we have lollipops.
Yummy. And why there are a few rows of land? Did you do anything wrong?
That's actually what I wanted to ask you about. The data itself is incomplete. Those values are actually missing from the information right now. But somebody is probably going to fill them in it later.
Okay. Sounds like a normal analyst life, incomplete data. Huh.
You know, I'm going to need this for a demo for some executives for a proof of concept, and I'm going to need to prove end-to-end operations. I don't want to have to do a lot of work, and I don't want to re-engineer anything. Is there some DevOps tricks that we could use instead?
So sounds like you need some tricks that can be self-sustained. You won't look bad in front of executives.
Yes, and I want to show some random numbers for the visuals while there's no data, and then when the data does come in, like I said, I want it to disappear.
No problem. Let me show you. We just write a few measures and synced up table calculations, and it'll look like this. How's
Wow.
this?
That's awesome, Jedi. Why don't you show the rest of us what you did?
All right. Here we go. I put all the calcs and settings in notes for you. So note that with all the dimensions, measures, and even parameters that you all jammed into your lollipop chart, you need to be careful when you set up the table calculation. And it's all based on how deep you want to randomize the data and at what level you want to be synced. But the good thing is, after you set up it once, you don't have to re-engineer it again. As soon as data gets filled in, all those random generated numbers will become real data.
That sounds great, but it sounds like we're probably going to need some testing after we build it.
No doubt on that.
All right, so let's move on to testing. And I'm thinking of adding some user education sessions.
User educations? We don't have enough time, Dave. Is it important, and why?
So we've had instances where the end user didn't understand what was being shown with the visual.
Really? Why?
The 5 whys again.
Why do I do that?
I'm not believing that you are innocent at all for a minute. I've worked with you way too long. Anyway, we've gotten requirements from somebody who wasn't the end user. There's a reason we talked about going back and following that request flow.
And why did we talk about that again?
More whys? All right, to avoid the telephone game.
Telephone game.
So many users will not take the time to understand overly complex or not easily or readily apparent information.
Okay.
Keep in mind that you, having built this dashboard, you know everything about it.
Yeah.
You've built it from the floor up. You've done everything to make it work and get it ready. They're seeing it for the first time.
Yes.
So imagine not only being told to use this computer up on stage, but build it first.
I can't do it.
Well, what if I told you to get even harder
Not
and make the
even
parts?
possible, Dave.
All right.
So? I guess so that I understand that we not only have to make a dashboard that's easy to use, but you will also have to educate our users, right?
That's right. We need to keep them out of the data game and into understanding, and it's going to keep them happy and keep us sane.
All right, all right. Happy users, happy us, isn't it? Okay. Since we tested, we have user educated, what's next?
Operationalize.
Finally! Let's get it for real and get me prepared.
All
So, is there something that I absolutely don't want to do, Dave?
Yeah, you never want to hard code the information. You don't want to overly complicate measures or metrics, and you don't want to bombard the users with information.
When
you're
you
talking,
say card code, that also include custom shapes?
that's what I was just about to say. We don't want to do the custom shapes on hard-coded because those dimensions might change over time, and then you're going to have to go back in and reapply those shapes.
All right. And when you say bombard user with information, talking something like this?
Yeah, we definitely don't want to do things like that.
All right. Then what should we do instead then?
We want to keep things repeatable and reproducible and keep to standards that our team accomplishes and sets up. We want to keep it as simple as possible and then use some tricks.
All right. Yes, sir. And for the operations, there were times that I didn't use that data extract and publish to the server. But you know what? The data didn't get updated when I click refresh button. I thought it's supposed to be live connected.
Did you uncheck this box right here?
include external files. What does that mean?
So when you uncheck that box, you're going to get this warning message that lets you know, hey, it's connecting back to the source of the data.
All right. So live connected. There were times that I use extract instead, and it's sweet because I can refresh it from the server, right?
Yeah, and you just can set it to refresh on a cadence.
All right. This is so sweet, convenient, and cost-saving.
Really? Saving money?
Yeah, I do heard one team specifically bought a license, so one person in that group can run a dashboard. They refresh locally, and then they publish to the server.
I wish they had known this earlier.
Never too late. What else I need to know about the server?
It sounds like we're on the admin track right now, and we're going to start talking about some groups.
Show me.
So you can just click on the groups, select or create an existing group, select an existing group or create a new one, add the users, and then set the permission levels for any kind of container or workbook.
So I guess this is an easy way to manage a container of users and keep all the permissions together, right?
Yeah.
You do have to add those users to the site in the first place, is that right?
Yeah, but you can leverage Active Directory or import as CSV files, and it'll save you time and effort in granting those individual users access.
That's handy. What else does the server provide?
What about some stats? You can see what's happening at a glance, be able to have actual usage data and user experience.
All right, so what's being used and what's not? That's going to be some helpful information. Do you have an example to show me?
Yeah, how about these two right here up on the board? You can see exactly how many people have viewed it and what's been happening over time.
Let me see. So the top one definitely have some views, but the bottom one is 0 flat across the past 12 weeks, huh?
Yeah, it's probably worth looking into to see if anybody's even using it. Based on voice of the customer sessions, we might do some recreation or just get rid of it completely.
All right, that sounds familiar. So we really value our lessons learned from getting requirement stage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a valuable lesson. And since we already talked about groups, let me start setting this up.
All right. What? Wait, what?
Oh, you know what I forgot? You can see who has seen this view. All you had to do was click on it.
All right. And you're doing what now?
I'm going to start adding the users to the group, so hold on. Let me start going.
Wait. Do you know you can just share a link?
What? How does that work?
Well, if you ever use that shared link, you don't need to add the users to the site in the first place. Everybody within the same network is able to access it.
Did any of you know that? All right, so go ahead, don't be shy, raise your hands. Which one do you think is better? How many people like adding links? All right, how many people like setting up the user permissions? All right, so E, what do you think is better?
Well, I like to share links, especially when I was not a site admin. I don't want to email them all the time and say, hey, can you please add this user or so. It's easy for testing purposes, and I know all users will be tracked as guests on the server.
Yeah, I instead like to grant access and use permissions like it seems like a lot of you in the room like to. It's a permanent solution. It's an easy way to track who is seeing what exactly, and it shows you the levels of permissions. However, it does take a little bit longer to set up.
I see. So at the end, it's all depending on use case and whether you are in test or prod, right?
That's right. So
I think we covered almost everything. We turned our requirements into some design. We developed it. We published it. We scheduled it. We even set permission for it, right?
yeah, wow. Did you think that went as fast as we did? We flew through all that information.
So let's just quickly recap the session, huh? So what we covered, we went through the whole end-to-end life cycle of dashboard from all the way getting requirements, design, development, testing, and operations, and more. What I didn't know that I needed to know. Some lessons.
We learned how to get requirements, we learned design principles, we learned some best practices.
And some tips and tricks I wish I had known earlier.
Like some Tableau features, some enhanced calculations, some dashboard interactions, and even some site management.
That's sweet. So feel free to download these slides and workbook and just practice on your own. Contact us if you have any questions.
You know, we'll be here the whole week, and speaking of workbook, I think it's time we publish that final dashboard. What do you think?
You think we missed anything?
Oh, I think we forgot the dashboard.
Oh my, I think that is the end of our story today. Oh la la, here comes our final dashboard, boring these 30 minutes.
Or it could have taken us more than 30 days or even longer if we didn't know what we had learned today.
So look what we got.
So we have a dashboard that answers questions, it drives actions, it has charts that represent the data, it has an alignment of colors and shapes to reveal the underlying information, it has a use of reference lines as we talked about earlier, and it uses dashboard actions that you can't see here in the PowerPoint presentation, but we've included that in the Tableau workbook along with this session. So you can click along and see what happens.
Or you can just simply follow the chart titles and the quick start guide on the dashboard itself. We embedded the user education part on the dashboard itself. Bonus point.
And I think we're out of time. And last but not least,
Please, please, please complete the session survey.
as you can see in the bottom, we suggest only 5s.
All right, and thank you, thank you. Here's our contact info.
I hope everybody enjoyed the session today. Thank you.
Thank you.